first day of 2024, but it sure felt like last season's Timberwolves playing in that game as they lose by 6 to the Knicks in Madison Square Garden. A game where they got severely outworked by this Knicks team, losing the offensive rebound battle 16-4, and additionally losing the rebound battle overall by 15. Also, 9 more points on Timberwolves turnovers compared to Knicks turnovers in this game. Also, as this team stands, sure, we're number 1 in the West. We've got the best record there. We've got number 1 rated defense. But we're also a bottom 5 team in offensive rebounds per game and a bottom 5 team in turnovers per game. So we're giving the other teams a lot more possessions than we're taking. So we have to keep those field goal percentages down, and we have to have ours higher than the opposition. This is our first game of the season, actually, where that balance hasn't been good enough, and we've shot better than the opposition and still lost the game. A little shocking, that stat to me. I think the record is now 24-1, and it's also just shocking that we couldn't conjure up enough offense in this game, because this Knicks defense, I watch every video that Worldwide Wob does where he recaps kind of every Knicks game. It's really the inspiration for these videos. And he talks about how much this Knicks defense has struggled without Mitchell Robinson, how it feels like they're giving up 130 points every single night. Timberwolves could only garner 106 in this one. It really did feel like a game of previous seasons where we have the rebounding issues, we have the sloppiness and the turning over, although that's been a thing all year long. But also the Rudy game felt a little different. He did some good stuff for us, but it felt like we had forgot how to pass to him again. I think there were 4 lob attempts in this game that were not converted to Gobert, and a lot of situations where I thought, do we know who we're passing to here? It's kind of the dog days of the season where it's pre-All-Star break, over a third of the way through. And so maybe we're just hitting a little bit of a wall because it feels like we can't put together more than a third of good basketball per game. And we had a really good stretch in this game, but it had to get to the point where we were down by 22 points in that third quarter. And then we finally bring in Jordan McLaughlin, who I've been clamoring for in recent games as our turnover problems have been worse and worse, because he's someone who controls the ball and brings you a jolt of energy. And he did exactly that in this game. 4 of 5 shooting, 2 steals. The first one coming extremely quickly. He got a steal and a finish over Jalen Brunson in transition. Also made a 3 in this one, and 3 assists to no turnovers. And we need that stability from all point guards that are going to be playing with how many high turnover players we have right now. Anthony Edwards, great game in this one. 35 points, scoring the ball well, but he has his issues too, his flaws, his mistakes, as anyone will. And he does so many great things with them with us that I don't want to discredit that. But he had 4 turnovers, but they were really costly ones, especially when we finally got this game closer in the fourth quarter. He had a couple very bad ones that led to direct points for the Knicks. Also, he was getting beat on back cuts like crazy. OG Anunoby made his debut with the Knicks here as they just traded for him. Much more on the Ye side as he was hitting a lot of great threes, or 3 of 6, and then had 3 back cut dunks for them and a transition dunk. And a lot of those were with Anthony Edwards not paying a lot of attention off ball, and there were some mistakes with him, although he kept us just kind of limping around through a lot of that game with his scoring. And we also have Karl Anthony Towns, high turnover player. His game was frustrating in this one, but more not in his fault. I thought there was a bunch of bullshit cat calls out of this crew of sucks, like they're working on a construction site. And he gets a lot of those. He has the reputation where it feels like they're looking for offensive foul calls for Cat now. They know that he creates a lot of that contact, and he's just kind of got the rep where they're not going to buy anything if he's trying to rip through and get a jumper off or just rise up anytime he has contact. He doesn't get those calls, and he gets called for every offensive foul, which he does do. And in this game in particular, I felt like it was his reputation catching up to him. And even though he was hitting all types of shots and making some impressive plays, especially the fourth quarter stop on a dime transition behind the back 3 that he made that kind of left everyone shocked. A little bit of no choke Like, oh, damn. Okay, he got that in his bag. And you love to see just the talent outpouring out of Cat, but then it gets equally frustrating when it just falls apart and you just can't see it because of all the other shit surrounding him with this toxic aura that isn't even between him and the opposition most of the time. It's like himself and the Sucks. And it's draining. And even some of the bench studs that I love are pretty turnover-prone people as well. Kyle Anderson's kind of been filling that backup point role. He has 3 turnovers along with his 3 assists, and he does make a lot of bad passes that end in turnovers compared to a Mike Conley or a Jordan McLaughlin. So I'd like us to lean into Jmac more off the bench during this stretch where it's a huge problem for our team. And then even Naz Reid, I feel like, has picked up so many of the flaws and the strengths that Cat has. Because it's not turnovers as much that you see in this one, but still 5 fouls out of Naz in this game. And he has a lot of the same problems. So I want the composure. I trust Jmac to make the right decisions, to bring energy, make the hustle plays, and it felt like he was the one more valuing closing out defensive possessions with rebounds than anyone else. He only gets 1 board in this game, but he was like throwing his body around, keeping the ball alive and trying to keep people away from the ball. And so we need to value him and lean on him when this team gets out of control. So that's my piece, and I was so happy that we were able to come back very significantly after being down 22, because the Knicks do give you those opportunities. It's a very normal thing for that team. But Jmac was the spark plug there, and I think he will be regularly if we give him a shot. So give him a shot. His shot's also better now. May look funky, but it goes in more than before.